Caffeinated Cooper Show.
Again and always, it is so good to see that intro. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Caffeinated Cooper Show. I have an amazing guest, as all of my amazing guests that have decided to gift me some of their time and conversation are. This guy is awesome. And I want to give a shout out to Platinum Planet Records for that intro. Thank you so much. And this show is sponsored by Neuro Mints and Neuro Gum to give you a boost, a little 1-2 of some B vitamins as seen on Shark Tank. And you can get yours today at Walmart, most Kroger's, CVS, Amazon, or neurogum.com. That's neurogum.com. I just had one, and that's why I'm always so uplifted with Neurogum. Well, I'm not chewing gum. I'm doing their mints. Let me be honest. I'm eating one of their mints. It's light, it's airy, and it doesn't taste like it's full of that artificial caffeine, because that's not what they use. So go check it out. All right, guys, let's move into the show. Good afternoon. This is an unusual time to be doing interviews, right? But it's going to work. It's going to be amazing. This is season 5. This is the very first interview of season 5, 2021. I'm so excited. All right. Let me tell you a little bit about who I have in the lobby for today's show. Good afternoon, Ken Dodge. Good to see you. As always, everybody, I see all of you sitting there, but you're not commenting. Please make sure that you do comment. You do ask questions throughout the show, because I can bring those up and we can ask our author the questions. So Frank A. Ruffolo is going to be coming to the show, and let me read you his bio. He has an amazing bio on his website, and it reads like this. Frank A. Ruffolo is an internationally known author and an accomplished screenwriter with IMDB credit. He is the owner and CEO of FC Literary Publishing, Inc., which is the publishing entity for his books. Okay, stop. 11 books. Not just one. This isn't just like, oh, maybe I'll write a book. 11 books. We'll get into those in just a minute. He also offers publishing services to independent authors. Frank currently has 6 books published and working on 6 more. Okay, on his website, he has 11. We're going to ask him about that. He also has written 3 full-length screenplays based on his novels Jack Stenhouse Mysteries, Gabriel's Chalice, and Stuck in Traffic. Really interesting book. We're going to talk about that one. He is also a board member of the Film and Entertainment Entrepreneurial Society based in South Florida. And without any further ado, I'd like to welcome to the stream author Frank A. Ruffolo. Good afternoon, Frank. How are you?
Hi, Elizabeth. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing well. I am so excited to have you on the show because I really want to talk about a couple of things. You sent me a wonderful gift around Christmas, and it is this bad boy right here. I love this book. I want to talk about this book, but in my research of you, I want to talk about all of your books. When did you begin?
Well, that's good. Before we start, though, I have to say one thing. I was told to say hello to you from a friend of yours.
Okay.
So Charlene says hello.
Oh, my Scottish friend. Yes,
your Scottish friend.
Glam.
And my friend.
The whole world knows Glam. Charlene is wonderful.
Isn't she, though? She asked me to say hello to you when I was on. So hello.
I'll send her a message after the show. She is just one of the most upbeat, beautiful. All of her videos, all of her postings, it's beauty. She just exudes beauty. So thank you so much for that message.
Yeah. Oh, you're welcome.
All right. So I would like to start with just, when did you start writing? Where did you say, you know what, I got to write this down. I got to write a book.
started around 2006, 2007. I had a crazy. I woke up one morning and I told my wife, I said, I have a great idea for a movie. She thought I was nuts. And I kept waking up with the same idea. So, and then I got one of those ruled notebook pads and I started writing. And after about 6 or 7 or 8 pages, I said, I better just get on my computer and start. And that's all it started. The voices haven't shut up since. So I've got 8 books currently published. I have 6 more that are in process in various stages of editing to be published. And I have around 4 or 5 screenplays that I've written also, and I have an IMDB credit for 1.
Oh my goodness. That's a lot of content. Where do you find your inspiration?
It all comes in from my head. The voices in my head just don't shut up.
Isn't that the truth? I think that's the secret to every great artist, is that we're all just a little bit nutty, and we have many different
a little bit nutty.
people.
My favorite quote I always say is, we sit at our keyboards and bleed through our fingertips to quiet the voices in our heads.
Amen to that. Oh my gosh. Yes. Yep. Yes. So the book that I'm reading, can we talk about the Blue Falcon first?
Sure.
Okay. So I have the Blue Falcon, and I want to hold it right there while I look at my notes here. The Blue Falcon, so you have so many things going on here, which is why I want to refer back to my notes, because you have a novella trilogy, an ebook trilogy, and then you have 2 books that it's kind of like a sequel to another one. So this Blue Falcon is independent. No, it's not independent. This one's a trilogy too, isn't it?
No. This is part of my Jack Stenhouse series. There's 3 released so far, and I have 4 more that I have written that are in edit. So
okay. So in starting the Blue Falcon, I have to say, as a reader, I think we all have our preferences, right? We all have those things of saying, this is a great story, an okay book. This is a great book, but okay. It's like everything waxes and wanes. With yours, you have put both together. You have obviously had wonderful editors working with you. You're also a wonderful writer to be able to match where the editing is, because when you begin reading these books, your imagery is so vivid. And that's what I love, because I struggle at this point in time. I don't have the lifestyle of having a whole weekend under a cozy blanket with that beloved book, and I can just dedicate all my time to that. So I kind of have what I call forced ADD with all these kids. And I didn't have to worry about that. How do you capture such imagery in your writing?
I hate to say it's something natural, but I try to get the reader to visualize what I'm saying. Okay. And that's how I put it in the book. And that's basically what I try to do as a writer. A lot of people call me an author. I'm not really an author. I'm more of a storyteller. Mm-hmm. Dickens was an author. I'm more of a storyteller. So I like to tell stories, and I try to get the reader involved in the story and try to visualize what I'm trying to say on the page, which is kind of rough because I also do screenplays, and in the screenplays, I got to do the exact opposite. So
yes. So as a child growing up, do you have anyone in your family that was also a storyteller?
No.
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 Frank!
Not at all.
Oh my goodness. So, I mean, this really is just rattles around in your brain and you put it out there on paper for all of us to enjoy.
Right.
What is in the
book? Just started one day and hasn't stopped.
Oh my goodness. So let's talk about the synopsis of Blue Falcon. So I can either read what we have on the website, or I can cruise your website while you tell us a little bit about the Blue Falcon. How about, would you mind telling us a little bit about the Blue Falcon?
Sure.
I'll go onto the website. Okay.
Blue Falcon is basically about a corrupt administration and a scandalous president who is being impeached. Sound familiar?
Yeah.
And the witnesses that are being called to testify against him are being assassinated by the president's lover, who has a deep secret.
Wow.
While the main protagonist in the book is Jack Stenhouse, who's a detective in New York City. He is investigating one of those murders of one of the witnesses, and his crime scene and case has been taken over by a friend of his, an old friend of his in the FBI, and she recruits him into her team to try to track down this serial killer. So they follow the trail of bodies to the 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, where they must avert a constitutional crisis.
Yeah. Okay.
And the rest I'm going to leave you hanging with.
Yeah. Please do. Absolutely, please do. So you have this book, right? And here's what I found so interesting. Let me talk a little bit about when I was researching all these books. And I'm pulling up Gabriel's Chalice. So let me go on the website and pull up that book. That was the first one that I got to, which is the first one listed underneath books from
That's my first book that I wrote.
Okay. Very first book that you wrote, Gabriel's Chalice, right? So I'm looking at this and I'm reading through, and then I go to the Trahedral of Chaos, and I'm reading through
which is the sequel.
And I start going.
Well, no, sorry. That's my second book.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. No. That's okay. That's okay. And, so the first one is pestilence of vast global disasters that suddenly erupt in year 2028. And then Trahedral of Chaos, fighting Al-Qaeda terrorist cells and preserving freedom. Those are tough jobs. So what happens when the terrorists are natural born U.S. citizens? And I'm looking at the book that I'm reading, The Blue, and I'm like, he's almost like a Nostradamus in this. He's like a flippin' fortune teller. So did you ever think that some of these books were, so close to what could happen?
Well, let me give you a brief story about Gabriel's Chalice. I was writing Trahedral of Chaos first.
Mm-hmm.
While I was writing Trahedral of Chaos, I have a daily routine where I say my morning prayers.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has their morning prayers. So I say my morning prayers. And then before I went to work, because I had a normal job, I was a purchasing manager for a major company, I would flip open a section of the Bible and just read whatever I randomly flipped to. I would read that scripture as my daily inspiration, and I would go to work. So one morning I flipped open the book and I flipped it open to Luke 21:11. Luke 21:11 is where he's telling his apostles what's going to happen when he returns again, even though they don't realize. And what basically Luke 21:11 says, there's going to be earthquakes and plagues in various places. There's going to be terrors in the sky and great signs. That's Luke 21:11. I said, okay. Went to work. 4 days in a row, I opened up to the same passage.
4 days.
And then I said, something's telling me to write something about that.
Yeah.
So that's how I stopped writing the first book and I wrote Gabriel's Chalice.
Isn't that amazing? I have a belief that God knows just how stubborn the human spirit is. And I have a rule of threes, as so many other people do. When I see something in close concession in threes, then I'll say, Elizabeth, stop. What am I missing? What am I supposed to be doing?
Right.
And it always pans out. Isn't that wild?
Isn't it weird? Yeah. And Gabriel's Chalice is the first of 3 books. Gabriel's Chalice is the years leading up to Judgment Day, the final Judgment Day, which I don't put in the book because you never know when Judgment Day is going to be. So I pick the year it's going to start, but I don't put in the book what Judgment Day is and what happens.
Okay.
The second book in this trilogy is called Tres Archangelis, which is Latin for three archangels, and that takes place about 25 years after Judgment Day.
Oh, wow.
And events.
And that one takes, okay, so
Right.
that's all that I have in my notes is just that one line. Can you tell us just a little bit about this particular book in that?
Okay. Tres Archangelis is, man, even though Judgment Day happened,
Mm-hmm.
and man had to choose between right and wrong, had to choose who to follow, and the ones who chose poorly are, of course, no longer around because they've been judged at Judgment Day.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole earth has been called. There's 1,000 years of peace. God walks among us. So that's the normal feeling. What's going to happen after Judgment Day? But man is still like the Jews in the desert who didn't believe for 40 years, who rambled for 40 years because they still didn't believe. Man still doesn't believe, even though everything happened. So what happened is man's greeds and events cause a asteroid, a life-killing, death-killing, life-ending asteroid to come toward Earth. The family that was chosen in Gabriel's Chalice, who found the Chalice, because in Gabriel's Chalice, what happens is during all this times of earthquakes and volcanoes and pestilence, God sends his archangel Gabriel with a message for mankind, and he gives mankind a chalice. So the same family that was involved in getting the chalice from Gabriel's Chalice, God contacts them again and says, I can stop the asteroid from hitting the Earth. You caused this. You have to stop it. I have given the power of my archangels that protect your Earth to stop this. And there's 3 keys that you must find to release the power of the archangels. And that's that book. They have to find the 3 keys to release the power of the archangels to stop the asteroid from hitting Earth.
Very interesting. I have a question to go with what you had just said. Very, very interesting, Frank. Ken Dodge says, so am I correct in assuming that you find your inspiration in the events of today and your belief of things to come?
Yes.
Okay.
On some of them. I mean, on prophetic writings that I have done, like Gabriel's Chalice, Tres Archangelis, and Xantha Terra, which is the next sequel to that. Yes. I try to include events that have happened in my normal fiction writing to make it more real, but not necessarily. I mean, fiction is just basically fiction writing is, I make up a bunch of stuff, put it on paper, and people read it. I mean, it's all fake. It's all made up, but to make it more real, you always choose events that have happened or you think will happen, or places that actually occur, and you put all that into your book.
Okay, I have another question. I love that answer, and this one, your books are just so meaty. Oh my goodness! I mean, we could spend 12 hours talking about each one of these books. But I have Brett writing, and he says, does he use current events as a basis for his stories? So I brought up one of Jack Stenhouse's books, which is 10048, a Jack Stenhouse mystery. That one I would say would apply to this question, right?
Right. What happened there is that there is a story that was circulated during the time of the Trade Tower disaster, that there was a gold coin dealer in one of the sub basements who had his business that was destroyed, and there was millions of dollars of gold that was destroyed with it, that was never recovered. So I took that I took that story and sort of expanded. And what I did is 15 years later, they find a man who's been poisoned to death at the Trade Tower Memorial Fountain with a gold coin in his hand.
Huh.
And that man was the manager of that gold seller's business, that gold depository that was in the basement of the Trade Tower. So Jack Stenhouse, who was the detective in the first precinct in New York, which would cover the Trade Tower, was him and his team were dispatched to find, basically what he has to do is find out, how did this guy get out of the Trade Tower?
Mm-hmm.
Where has he been for the last 15 years?
Mm-hmm.
And where's the gold? And who killed him? This ghost.
Very interesting. I love this.
So I took an actual event and made a story out of it. So, the story takes place, of course, after the Trade Tower incident.
Okay. All right. Well, and that answers that question very well. I love the mystery. I love the prophetic books as well. So this is a question more for, where is he? Okay. So for the books that we were talking about, Gabriel's Chalice and more of the prophetic books that you have. So Ken is asking, is your vision realistic fiction? Is that what you would categorize those books as?
It would be faith-based science fiction.
Okay.
I know we do call it realistic fiction. I mean, one of my books takes place 1,300 years after Judgment Day and 1,300 years in the future. So it's not really realistic fiction. It's more faith-based science fiction. So it's Gabriel's Chalice would be more like realistic science fiction, sorta. But anything that would be in the future, that would be science fiction. I guess you wouldn't really call it realistic.
Right. Okay. Well, I think that answers his question well. I have another viewer that's saying, what is the title of that book? Brett, if you're able to be a little bit more specific, which synopsis were you listening to? And then I can help you with the titles and figure out which book that is. We still have many more books. So Jack Stenhouse Mystery, the mystery begins with the Blue Falcon, correct?
No, the first Jack Stenhouse mystery would be the Jack Stenhouse Mysteries.
Okay. Oh, yes. I have.
Which is Shadow and Saturnalian Effect.
Let's pull that. Let's talk about the Jack Stenhouse Mysteries, even though
that's the first book. There's two cases in there: Shadow of Death and Saturnalian Effect.
Yes. Okay.
That's the Jack Stenhouse mystery.
So let's talk about the Jack Stenhouse, just the book that's called just Jack Stenhouse, because we haven't covered that one. So the first book in the mysteries, correct?
That's the first. That's the introduction of that character, Jack Stenhouse.
So.
And his stripper girlfriend.
I noticed that with him. The women.
Jack is a hound. So Jack is a man who will. Jack says things that most men, politically correct, if they want to be politically correct, will not say or do. Jack has no filter. Jack does not care. He's a cross between, if you remember the old movie Bullet.
Yes.
So he's a cross between that actor Bullet, who played the character Bullet,
mm-hmm.
A little bit of Clint Eastwood, and a little bit of Deadpool.
Okay, that's quite a mishmash.
So he's Dirty Harry, Bullet, and Deadpool.
Okay.
I mean, he's got a sarcastic, double entendre sense of humor. He likes his women like he likes his coffee. The bigger the cup, the better.
Yeah, very stout, very hot.
That's Jack Stenhouse. So, he starts out as a detective in the Fort Lauderdale Police Department. He has to discover why beautiful women are being killed by the bite of a black mamba snake, which is only in Africa.
Oh.
That's his first. That's the first. He then he can't stand Florida, can't stand Fort Lauderdale. He transfers. He's looking for a bigger town. He transfers to New York. And his first case in New York as the now rookie detective in the first precinct is he has to stop a serial killer that only kills during the Feast of Saturnalia. Saturnalia was the holiday that used to be celebrated in pagan Rome, that was celebrated the god Saturn, and was basically the beginning of winter, which some people say when Rome became Christianized, they changed the Saturnalia holiday to Christmas.
Oh,
So
interesting.
the Saturnalian effect only takes place about a week or so in Christmas time in December, and that's when this serial killer comes out and kills all his victims. So that's book.
Very interesting. Oh, I love it. And now the imagery with Jack and his women and is quite fantastic. I mean, you really paint with your pen, and I love you for that, because you make it so easy to read and to get into these books. Have you had any interesting?
And also make it very easy. And also make it very easy for some people to hate Jack.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Because Jack is just.
He's who he is.
He's an old-time detective. He doesn't care what you think. It doesn't care what you say, and he'll do anything, whatever he decides to say, he's going to say. He don't care.
You know what?
He has no filter.
That's kind of refreshing right now. There's a lot of people out there looking for some of that, a little bit more raw, not so politically correct, and that's Jack. That's refreshing in many varieties of it. You have 2 more books that I would like to get to. No, 3. So we didn't talk about The Crescent Star, The Falcon's Canticle, and Yellow Cake. That is your trilogy, your ebook trilogy. Would you like to talk about that next?
That's all in the printed book Trihedral of Chaos. Trihedral means 3-sided. So there's 3 stories in that book. Basically, that is a love story. It's about the baby boomer love story. It's a man who's a widower who now finds his new love, and he has to choose between the love of his life, his new love of his family, and love of country. And there's 3 basic stories. The first basic story, Crescent Star, is basically there is a terrorist coming over on a boat named the Crescent Star, a freighter, who has a dirty bomb that he wants to explode somewhere in the United States. And my protagonist there, who's Steve Chacon, he's been put in charge of I made up a federal agency called the Federal Security Agency, which allows the federal government to give military assets to local people during emergencies. Yeah, his agency's been tasked to try to stop this terror attack. So that's the first book. And in that book, he meets his new love interest. The second book, which is Falcon's Canticle, there is a. Oops. Okay, there it is. Falcon's Canticle is a. There is a terror cell already here in the United States that wants to wreak havoc, and basically he has to stop that one. The third one is Yellow Cake, and what that is a homegrown terrorist. He's a U.S.-born terrorist that's been radicalized. That what I did from there, going back to the question about do I take events during the Iraqi war, we had confiscated all the yellow cake that Iraq had. What yellow cake is powdered uranium. They use that to make. Eventually, they will use that to make nuclear weapons. But yellow cake is the uranium powder ore. Not really. It's not really a health risk unless you breathe it in or you're around a lot of it. So what I did is I said that the terrorists over there, while they were confiscating all this yellow cake, they stole a barrel, 55-gallon drum of it, and smuggled it into Canada. And because there are no borders between U.S. and Canada, because there are no border, there are places where you can just walk across. It's unsupervised. They bring this yellow cake in the United States, and this terror group that's in upstate United States, they decide they're going to make a dirty bomb with the yellow cake and blow it up in one of the at a New Year's Eve, at one of the New Year Eve celebrations in one of the major cities on the East Coast. And here again, this guy has to find and stop it. So.
Oh my goodness! Oh wow! Wow! That has to be one of those books that keeps you on your toes the whole way through.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's three. So it's a progression of him. First he's there, then he's acting as a consultant, then he's acting as they bring him back in and they try to find. And he's got two other buddies with him, so I call them the Three Musketeers. There's three guys that he hangs around with. That they were all in the army together, all in SWAT together, and they're all friends. So they're like a three. It's like an old, and they're baby boomers. They're all in their 60s, so they're all the older guys.
Oh, like I love it. I can picture that. I can picture that raw, gritty relationship between the three amigos.
Now my next book that's coming out that's almost done editing. My wife is my editor, so by the way, it's almost done editing. Is a sequel to Trihedral Chaos, and that's called Destruzione della Roccia, which is Italian for destruction of the rock. And what that book is about, my main character now is retired and he lives on the Amalfi Coast with his wife. And the Pope excommunicates all the members of the mafia who are Catholic. And the mafia doesn't like it. So they team up with a caliphate. They team up with a caliphate in Middle East to assassinate the Pope. And the government agencies in Italy find Steve Ciccone, who lives in Italy, because he has done this before, and they ask him to help them stop the assassination.
Oh, very interesting.
So that book's not out yet.
Okay.
That's my next book that will be coming out.
Okay. Well, we're going to be watching for that one because that's very interesting. Very, I mean, just to have all those relationships and then to be able to see that spin-off, seems like that's going to lead you into 2 more spin-offs and it'll be all 4 as a collection.
It could be.
All right. So you have another book, 2 more books really. And these 2 identify a little bit more to their own. The one that I'd like to bring up is Stuck in Traffic. And this one, that's based off of a real situation that obviously we do have very present here in present day, the entire world, not just America. This book, it seems like there are a billion different directions you could go in with Stuck in Traffic. Where did you decide to go with this book? What is this about?
Well, how this book came about is a very close friend of mine who has since succumbed to breast cancer. She wanted to write a screenplay based on human trafficking. She did some research on victims, spoke to victims that were actually in human traffic, and she started writing a screenplay. And she called me up. This was around 2017, 2018. She died 2018, I believe.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's rough. Well, she couldn't finish the screenplay. She got stuck in the middle. She asked me to finish it for her.
Mhm.
So I finished the screenplay and was so moved by the storyline, I wrote the book based on the screenplay.
Hmm.
So what I try to do in this book is to show that human trafficking is not just sex.
Right.
A lot of people just think, well, I'm human trafficked. That's just sex. They're gonna humans and people are trafficked for sex. No, they're trafficked for organ donation. The organs are stolen. They're trafficked for ritual sacrifice. They're trafficked for indentured labor, not just sex.
Right.
So what we did is we took a fictitious character and I followed her from when her parents sold her, hopefully that she would get a job in the United States from China. And she was victimized from the time she comes here to the United States. And the book is basically about an attorney general whose daughter was kidnapped on her way to school. And he's still looking for her. And he wants to stop human trafficking. But it turns out that maybe the people you think are good guys are not really the good guys.
That's what I was.
Just because you have a judge and a jury, doesn't mean you're going to get justice. So it shows how people are in there for the wrong reasons, how good guys are not really the good guys, and this is what's happening in society today. So it's a very hard hitting book. It's not for the faint. It's going to open your eyes, and it's going to open your eyes as to what actually happens when you're stuck in traffic. Because the United States right now is the largest.
Yes.
The largest. When you say the largest customer, we have more human trafficking in the United States than any other country.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And I'm in the epicenter here in Atlanta because we have the world's largest airport. So easy in, easy out. And it is
easy in and out.
It's struggle.
It's terrible.
It really is. And I'm very interested in reading this book. I've only read another author, but it was a screenplay of a television series that was about sex trafficking. And it followed this one girl, and it started with her backstory of basically how she got there, because it was based off of her choice. And so anyway, not to talk about that story because that's different author. It's not your work. It was, there were points in time where I had to push myself through a couple of pages to get there, because this is one of those topics where a lot of authors will avoid it. What was that point in time where you said, okay, I understand, you had your friend that was working on a screenplay and you finished it for her. Was there a point in time though where you thought, I don't know that I can do this, or were you just all in, you knew that you could do this, it wasn't a problem, or did you have to push yourself through writing it?
There are sections I had to push myself through, but there was a point in time I said, I begin to wonder of how the public's going to react to this.
Interesting.
How is the public really going to react to this screenplay, and how is the public really going to react to this book? Yeah. Because there are things in the screenplay is a little bit more, is not as graphic as the book, but there are sections in the screenplay that are fairly hard to see.
Yeah.
So, and how is the public going to react? And hopefully how I push myself through is, this is something the public needs to see, because they just think, oh, human trafficking is you pay somebody, they can bring you somewhere and dump you off. No. It's the average lifespan of someone who's been trafficked. The average lifespan is around 6 to 8 years. That's it. They live 6 to 8 years and then they're gone. They disappear. A lot of these people just disappear because they're not used for trafficking. They're used for, I need a kidney. I need a heart. I need a liver. They're taken. The organs are taken, and they're dumped, and you never see them again. It's all about the money.
Yes, sadly, very, very sadly so. And with this being such heavy content, at the end of the book, what would be the word, if you had one word to choose to say, this book will leave you blank? What would be that word?
It should be concerned.
Concerned. Ooh.
This book should leave you concerned.
Okay.
And angry.
Oh, that's not where I thought you were going to go. And I love that you went there, because that means that this is meaty material from beginning to end. There's no fluff in this. There's no happy ending and rainbows at the end of this. I love it. Well, thank you. Oh my gosh. Thank you for that. That's a great word. But I would expect nothing other than a great word and great description from you, because I mean, these books are like blowing me away. I have one more that I would like to talk about. And this one, totally, let's shift gears here. Okay. Xantha Terra. So this has nothing to do with the Jack Stenhouse Mysteries. It has
It's a trilogy on Gabriel's Chalice.
Okay.
It's the last book.
All right.
For Gabriel's Chalice. And that takes place 1,300 years after the Great Judgment Day.
Huh. How in the world did you come up with content?
That's science fiction. That's what happens in one of my books in Tres Archangelis. What happens there? Give you a brief, just a little snippet of what happens. They try to shoot that asteroid down with a nuclear weapon, an old nuclear weapon that they found in an arsenal that was supposed to have been destroyed, but it wasn't, which had no really guidance. They could only pick a point in space and shoot this nuclear missile at this asteroid and hope something happens. Well, they shoot 3 up there. One misfires and doesn't go, and one finds its target but doesn't do what it was supposed to do, and one misses completely and goes out in space. Well, the one that goes out in space impacts Mars, and there's a nuclear explosion, impacts Mars, and it releases, in my book, it releases an underground water source that was on Mars. And that water vapor through the explosion goes into the atmosphere. And over the 1,300 years or so, it terraforms Mars back to the way it used to be. So 1,300 years in the future, we're now living on Mars.
Inhabiting.
We built a city.
Both, right?
We're on Earth and we're on Mars. We built a city on Mars. We've been able to have trans-universal, faster-than-light type of spacecraft. So we get to Mars in about 12 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And we built a city on Mars called Xantha City, which is basically like another Las Vegas. It's a boom town, and it's just gambling and stuff. And archaeologists have found remnants of an old civilization that was on Mars. And what has happened is, because of that nuclear strike on Mars, we have released the same monster that killed the original civilization on Mars again.
Oh, nice.
And it's starting to kill the current civilization on Mars. And one of those monsters ends up on Earth.
That's humanity for you, isn't it? Just keep doing the same stuff over and over.
So the devil that was involved in this, of course, these are faith-based science fiction, but a lot of people says, how can you get science fiction and faith? Well, you can. It's all the same. The evil that was involved in the last 2 books are then involved in this book. And there's a I'm not going to. They find the Ark of the Covenant in my previous book, and they used the Ark and the Covenant's power in the last book to try to stop the evil of these monsters. So it's just basically it's a monster story that takes place 1,300 years in the future on Mars.
I know that you mentioned this in the very beginning. I just want to mention it just one more time. We have a viewer, Michael Schwartz. He's asking, where did you come up with the idea for this book?
Which, this book?
Yes.
Xanthotera?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I saw that there were a lot of conspiracy theories and a lot of pictures that came out of Mars that said that it looks like there's statues on Mars from past civilizations and all this other stuff. So what I did is to extend the series in the trihedral of chaos, in the Tres Archangelus, the Satan gets involved in trying to stop the family from finding the 3 keys because he wants to destroy Earth. And archangels and God gets involved with Satan in that story. And they imprison him in the Orion constellation. And when they imprisoned him in the Orion constellation, a bright light shone in the sky, an immense bright light. Well, it takes 1,300 years for light to travel from the Orion constellation to Earth. And so I said, well, I could do something. 13 years in the future, they'll see the bright light, and then we'll start something new on Mars. So that's how that's where the 1,300 years comes from. A bright light. They see a bright light in the sky, and then all the new stuff happens on Mars. So that's how I got to write that one. And there's the humans are transformed with this monster. There's a monster that is set loose on Mars, and they get infected. And certain humans are transformed on Mars into a monster. That's why you see there's a little claw on the cover of my book. Transformed into a monster. And
is it a monster?
One of them,
a zombie type monster where they're trying to?
No, it's the monster is a cross between a velociraptor and Bigfoot.
Oh, okay.
It's a big guy, and it takes a while for the people to transform. So one of the people before they transformed moved back to Earth, and then they transformed on Earth. So that's why now this monster is on Earth. One of them. So it's they have now tried to stop this. And there's a twist at the end I'm not going to get into, but you got to read the book. There's a twist at the end. But the government also gets involved. They don't want these monsters killed. They want to try to make them they want to try to make the perfect soldier out of these monsters type of thing. So it's so that's I end the book almost. The ending of the book is almost the beginning of another book. So there
is more to come with this. Yes.
There's more to come.
It sounds like with the compilation of all the books that we've discussed today, sounds like you foresee, and I believe you're correct, and I believe there's a lot of viewers on here that would agree with me. We think we're busy. We're about to get even busier into the future. I have somebody here that has nicknamed you Frank Nadamus. Frank Nadamus. Like us. Yes, Frank Nadamus.
Yes.
So that is your new nickname.
Well, there's a lot of things that I have written in my book. And these books are, for example, I wrote Blue Falcon in 2017. And that's more of the events that happened in 2020.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I also wrote in Blue Falcon, I developed a weapon that's powerful enough to kill, that's air powered. and you can now buy one.
Yeah.
You can now buy an air-powered rifle that's not regulated by the federal government because it's an air rifle that you can kill somebody with.
Isn't that something? I mean, I don't know, Frank. You
Say
got
hello to
the
Charlene for me. She said hello.
Yes, she does. She says hello right here. She is
And she's
live
there.
and watching. Tell Frank I said hi. He wanted me to tune in. Thank you so much for tuning in. Glam.
Hi, Charlene.
Everybody needs to know Charlene Glam.
Happy birthday again.
And this has been a great show. I want to thank you. I believe, have we touched on all of your books before we end the show?
Well, the other thing I would, yeah, you touched on my books. Just letting you know that there are 3 books that have screenplays that are actively being promoted or will be actively being promoted. Blue Falcon, Stuck in Traffic, and Gabriel's Chalice. There's a screenplay for Gabriel's Chalice is with an A actor right now who liked the book, and he asked me to send the screenplay. So there's three screenplays now that could end up on screen.
Wow. Oh, wow. Stuck in Traffic. You know what? I believe we are ready for that. We were talking back in the green room about your book, 10048, and how that applies to the Twin Towers. And, you know, I was just chatting with you. I know that there have been shows, there's been movies, there's been documentaries, there's been all types of things talking about the Twin Towers and their demise. For myself, I grew up in Metuchen, New Jersey. So, you know, the city we went to was New York City. That's my city, even though I'm not a New Yorker, you know. So it's hard for me to read books and watch movies and see the Twin Towers because in their heyday, I was there for it. My family was there for it. I'm getting ready. I know the mass population is ready. The human trafficking one, I think we are all absolutely ready to watch and to see and to hear that it's not just sex trafficking. It's not just what the typical, in my mind, sheltered American middle class person would think of, oh, it's the runaway. It's not just the runaway. That's, you know, I mean, we just called it prostitution when I was growing up.
Kids and people are being stolen off the street.
Right. And it needs to be highlighted. We need to know more. And I feel like for whatever reason, we have been sheltered by the powers that be that could allow us more information. So thank you very much for writing that content.
Thank you.
Of course. I am going to be adding you into my praise and my prayers between me and God, because I want those screenplays and the series and everything that you have your hands in to be absolutely successful. I am so grateful for your time and sharing a little bit about your success.
Thank you.
And
thank you all for tuning in.
The one last question we have, and I've had it scrolling on the screen, I just want to announce it again. As far as purchasing and acquiring these books, I've noticed that they are both on Barnes & Noble as well as Amazon, but is everything on Amazon or are they split?
Barnes & Noble doesn't have all my books, but everything is on Amazon.
Everything.
Or you can contact me directly via my email. And I have special pricing. Unfortunately, if I have to ship it out of the country, it's going to be cheaper for you to buy it on Amazon because my shipping rate to ship out of the country is going to be insane. But I also have masks available too. So I have masks. I have face masks, COVID face masks available that have my books on the front.
Oh, no way. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
I have masks and books available. If you email me, I have special pricing. And of course, then they'll be able to be autographed for that special person, however you want them autographed.
That's wonderful. Well, I have your email up here on the screen. I just want to make sure that this is absolutely correct, and it is how someone would get in touch with you.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. So it's Frank A. Ruffolo at gmail.com. That's FrankaRuffolo at gmail.com. Email him today for your autographed copy. And boy, this has been a great show. I feel so absolutely blessed. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. Frank, thank you so much for your time and for all the information you shared. I've spent a lot of time with you, so thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. You're a blessing.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we will see you later on, and I cannot wait to finish up my book, Blue Falcon. I love it. I just
thank you.
Your descriptions. They get me. All right. I'll see you later.
Bye-bye.
Oh, gosh, guys, you are so good to me. I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. Again, the email is up on the screen if you would like your own signed copy from the author himself before he becomes so very popular and busy to where maybe that copy is going to be worth a whole hell of a lot. So go get it right now. Thank you so much for tuning in. Boy, my tongue is like, we're off air. It just doesn't want to work anymore. I keep fumbling on my words all of a sudden, right? But thank you so much for your questions. I'm glad that we got to all of the questions. This is always a wonderfully interactive show because of you and because of your viewership. Again, a shout out to Neuromints. Thank you so much for the little pep and the go-go for the show. Always, if you need a little pep, something natural, something nice tasting, some B vitamins, go into your local Walmart or go to neurogum.com and get yours today. Everybody, we are blessed. You are blessed. I love you. Until next time, have a